So we're asked a lot about why we study alligators. I think one of the most intriguing things for us, and one of the things that the public doesn't really understand, is how close we're related at the genetic and cellular level. So when I study an alligator ovary and I study the genes that are involved in making the ovary and making ovarian follicles grow, those are the same genes, the same hormones, estrogens, progestins, that are in a human female are the same hormones, the same genes that are in an alligator. When we actually study these animals and we see an abnormality in an alligator ovary in a contaminated environment, it is clearly a red flag that we have to start looking at potentially little girls or moms or women who have been exposed to similar kinds of contaminants and ask, are the abnormalities that we see in some women in some places due to the environment versus just thinking that that was something they inherited from their moms or their dads. I think the most important aspect of science that I can see right now is continuing to do this multidisciplinary kinds of work. And so what I'm trying to do right now is literally partner with clinicians to understand the questions or the problems they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis in healthcare, not the policy of it, the actual practice of treating patients. And then actually work with what are world-class chemists and biologists and physicists and engineers and say, how do we handle all the data we're collecting in the world of genetics today? How do we take that and relate it to chemical data and environmental data and put all of this together and then be able to go back and say, okay, what does this tell us about what we need to do to make the world a healthier place? I actually have a funny description of a scientist for some. I say that a scientist is the 4 best jobs on earth: detective, adventurer, storyteller, artist. The process of being a good scientist takes the creativity of an artist, the ability to do the whodunits of the detective. There's clearly adventure in the discovery of new things. And finally, if you can't tell the story, if you can't explain what you found, no one knows but you. So I think a great scientist requires doing all those things. I either became infamous or famous with my comment. I was testifying in Congress about the role of environmental contaminants. And the short story is, Congressman and I got into a bit of a debate about why decreasing sperm counts and small penises mattered. And I made the statement that every man in the room was half the man his grandfather was if you looked at sperm counts and these things. But the important part of that message was not that first statement. It was the second part of the statement, which was, the question is, will our grandsons be half the men we are? And that is, I think, the most critical question we're dealing with today is, are the things we're doing in this environment, are they going to affect our grandkids? Are they affecting our kids? Because if they are, then we should be doing that with our eyes open. We should go into it and say, yeah, we're actively doing this, versus just doing it and assuming that we're having no effect or burying our heads in the sand, if you will, and ignoring the consequences.